c'est les bons enfants, Canada c'est les bons enfants, Canada c'est today et le beau tout vin et à ce soir. Oh, oh, vraiment, Canada c'est les bons enfants. C'est la maison, il faut tailler des cheveux blancs, plonger les Irlandais, grand tout de misère. Oh, vraiment, Canada, c'est le bon enfant. C'est l'endragasson, une boule de tripon, troisième, Duvienne, des raisons de misère. Oh, vraiment, Canada, c'est le bon enfant. Canada, c'est le bon enfant, Canada, c'est le bon enfant. Moi, je puis pas payer du temps, Canada, c'est le bon enfant. Oh, vraiment, Canada, c'est le bon enfant. Thank you all very much. Really proud to be here at the Kennedy Center. I'm Dennis Stromat. We're l'esprit créole. C'est pas pour le parler de français ici ce soir. Je veux dire merci pour décider de visiter avec nous autres ce soir et me rester pour la présentation au soir. Aussi, peut-être on peut jouer la musique française créole qui vient de nos campagnes, nos petits coins de monde français. Did y'all get that? Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. If you didn't get that, then well, if you have somebody right next to you that speaks French, just ask them for a translation, because the rest of the songs are going to be all in French. So we apologize. But we'll do a tune here for you that comes from our part of the country, which is Missouri and Illinois. We play Missouri and Illinois French Creole music, and also known as Upper Louisiana. And this is a tune that comes from our part of the country, something called Grand-Mère se plaint. Qu'avez-vous dans ma vieille grand-mère? Jigadonde, jigadonde. Qu'avez-vous dans ma vieille grand-mère? Jigadonde. Qu'avez-vous dans le temps? Qu'avez-vous dans le temps? Qu'avez-vous dans ma vieille grand-mère? Gigadonde, gigadonde, t'es pas pour ma vie, grand-père. Gigadonde, pour lui qu'il est les hommes mangés, lui qu'il est les hommes mangés, lui qu'il est les hommes mangés. Gigadonde. Oh, j'avais une vieille grand-mère, gigadonde, gigadonde. Oui, j'avais une vieille grand-mère, gigadonde. Oh, que de paix, c'est que pleurer, que de paix, c'est que pleurer. Oui, j'avais une vieille grand-mère. All right, thank you very, very much. All right, thank you for the dancing. That's some great dancing. Well, like I say, we're really glad to be here and have an opportunity to play some French Creole music for you from our part of the country. We've had just an absolutely amazingly magical day today at noon. We got to play at the Library of Congress and doing this music. And this is also getting to play at the Kennedy Center is just an absolute amazing honor getting to be here. We're having kind of an interesting week and a half. We're leaving from here tomorrow morning to go up to New York and play the Old Songs Festival, and then we'll be right back next Wednesday for 5 days playing at the Smithsonian Folklife Festival as well. So it's going to be kind of an interesting time here. We're really enjoying getting to do this. Well, we'll do another song here for you that comes from our part of the country. This is a fiddle tune by a guy named Joe Polite. I learned it from a fiddle player by the name of Roy Booyer. But as often Roy did, he usually wouldn't give me titles of song. In fact, so far back that even Joe Polite, who made this song years ago, and who knows who he learned it from, it's an old French tune from southeast Missouri and southern Illinois, that we didn't even have a name, so we just had to come up with something for it, and so we just call it Polite's Reel. So we'll do it for you now. right, thank you. Well, one of the old traditions from the Illinois country, and en français, on appelle la région qui en vient, ça s'appelle le pays des Illinois. C'est pas le pays des Illinois, c'est en France qu'on dit ça. In France, they say the Illinois country, le pays des Illinois, but we say pays des Illinois because that's actually some of the pronunciation of the Illinois French. It's kind of a little bit different in our area, but some of the things that do remain the same are, for example, some of the old songs that were brought over from northwestern France, places like Normandy and Brittany. And this is a tune that's called a chanson à répondre, and what's interesting is you can find songs like this down in the state of Louisiana amongst Cajuns. You can also find this style of song amongst the Quebecois, French Canadians in Canada. And, of course, you find it in our region, right in the middle, in the Illinois country of old upper Louisiana. This is a tune that's called La Rose d'Amboise, which is just done with hands. And, of course, voice, too. We do add a little bit of voice into it. But it's like I say, it's called a chanson à répondre, which means a response song. And so the idea is that a leader yells out some lyrics of the song, and everybody's supposed to call back in a refrain. Now, I'm not expecting y'all to do that with us today, but if you catch the words really quickly and you want to, that'd be absolutely fine if you want to try to do that. But Rob's going to show you all a little help in case that you have a problem trying to get all the words out. He can help you actually with some of the wording on the refrain.
Everybody's expecting me to teach you a lot of French right now, but a lot of times when we play in auditoriums and when we hear any response, whether people are really singing the words or not, kind of what comes back in halls is just kind of a blah, 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 okay? And so that's fine if you want to do that, all right? Except, if you really want to try to be authentic, just make sure to try to, do a little accent français, it's a blah, 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 right?
That's right.
So if that works for you, it works for us.
All right. Okay, here we go. Well, we're going to start the clapping part. Y'all can join in that. Or foot stomping, whatever makes you feel better. We can do that too. And actually, I forgot to tell you, this song is just like Little Red Riding Hood, basically, the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Except there's only one problem. There's no Riding Hood. There are no wolves in the story. And actually, just to be honest with you, there's absolutely no connection between this song and Little Red Riding Hood whatsoever. But
the girl does go to the woods.
That's true. The girl does go to the woods, and that's about the closest thing that there is. But we try to tell people, because people will ask us to say, well, what's this song about? Well, it's about girls running away from boys, essentially, is what it's about more than anything. So here we go. Au père aussi de ma mère, non dans ton funky way. Au père aussi de ma mère, non dans ton funky way. Non dans ton funky way, c'est destiné à Rose d'Amboise. Non dans ton funky way, non dans ton funky way. Emmanuel à la colle, highway, highway, highway. Emmanuel à la colle, highway, highway, highway. Emmanuel à la colle, c'est destiné à Rose d'Amboise. Hey, le Manuel à la côte, hey, le Manuel à la côte. Oh, c'est la place de la ville, il rase à ses maisons. C'est la place de la ville, il rase à ses maisons. Il rase à ses maisons, c'est destiné la Rose d'Amboise. Il rase à ses maisons, il rase à ses maisons. Oh, est-ce que filles sont belles, tous les garçons y vont. Oh, est-ce que filles sont belles, tous les garçons y vont. Tous les garçons y vont, c'est destiné la Rose d'Amboise. Tous les garçons y vont, tous les garçons y vont. Oh, c'est la place de la ville, d'embrasse tous les garçons. Oh, c'est la place de la ville, d'embrasse tous les garçons. D'embrasse tous les garçons, c'est destiné la Rose d'Amboise. D'embrasse tous les garçons, d'embrasse tous les garçons. Oh, est-ce que filles sont laides, tous les garçons vont pas. Oh, est-ce que filles sont laides, tous les garçons vont pas. Tous les garçons vont pas, c'est destiné la Rose d'Amboise. Tous les garçons vont pas, tous les garçons vont pas. Emmanuel à la colle, highway, highway, highway. Emmanuel à la colle, highway, highway, highway. Emmanuel à la colle, c'est destiné la Rose d'Amboise. Hey, the man me halaco, hey, the man me halaco. All right. You are all now French Creole. All right. All right, well, we're going to do we're going to do a song here for you. Let me grab my fiddle and we'll get back to it. Speaking of old tunes, that was a very old song, one that comes from northwestern France, the style. We'll do another one that's an old tune that actually also comes from France. And this one is so old that I can't even, it's even hard to date how old this one is, other than we know that it's probably 700-800 years old, but it doesn't really matter because for the people locally, it could have been a top 10 hit in 1790. You know, I mean, it's fine. But this is a song that is also a tradition in our area, something that they actually stopped doing in France many, many years ago and intermittently do things like it in Quebec, but really, the Illinois country, Missouri and Illinois, are the only place that actually this event happens, which is on New Year's Eve, something called La Guillone, in which people dress in costumes, they put on masks, they go house to house begging for food, actually very similar to what is done in other places on Mardi Gras. But it's done on New Year's Eve in our area, in places like Prairie du Roche, Illinois, and Southern Illinois, as well as St. Genevieve, Missouri. Used to be done in Old Mines, Missouri, which is where a lot of our music comes from, and as well as even Vincennes, Indiana. And the tradition is essentially a mumming tradition. People go house to house begging for food. And the idea is to sing songs. And the event itself is one of charity, in which bringing the community, both the rich and the poor, together to have what they call bouillon parties throughout the winter time or at the beginning of the season of Carnival. And it's during that time they would gather food on New Year's Eve, and they still do this, and they go house to house drinking and eating along the way. And of course, but usually when I go out, I've been to several Guillone runs, I have the distinction of being usually the only fiddle player left standing at some of these events because I'm the only one that's sober. Usually at some of these, because you have to realize that when you go house to house, it's adult beverages everywhere, okay, when you're going house to house. But the idea is to save the food all through the season of Carnival at these bouillon parties. Now, before I get to the song, I just got to ask a question. How many of y'all know what a bouillon is? How many of y'all know what a bouillon is? I have one hand up. Wow, there's like 200 people here in one hand. Okay, now 2 hands. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. How many of you know what a bouillon cube is? Everybody, okay, everybody's hand goes up. All right. Well, basically, if you take the bouillon cube and pop it, you know, like your Lipton's cube, and pop it in some water, all of a sudden you got soup or a bouillon, okay? Well, in the old days, a house party for the French in the Illinois country, of course, was a soirée, or in France, it's soirée, like that, pardon me. But a soirée, as we call it. And, well, eventually with passage of time, what happened is every time you get together for a soirée, you would always have a chicken bouillon pool. So that's where these songs happen. A lot of the traditions are still happening in the Illinois country, and this is what they have all the way through the season of Carnival after the night of Guillone. So we're going to do this song here for you. This has got anywhere from 20 to almost 30 verses, depending what part of the Illinois country you're from. So we'll do about half of the verses. I'm not going to do them all. We don't have but, I think, another 45 minutes. We don't have enough time.
Était bon de tout rêver. Pour la dernière jeune année, c'était la guinée de tout rêver. Si vous voulez nous donner des ténuleilles, si vous voulez nous donner des ténuleilles, on se prend le monde sur le monde à l'échiner. On n'est pas grand-chose à dire, regarde à 20 pieds de long. On n'est pas grand-chose à dire, regarde à 20 pieds de long. Si vous voulez nous donner des ténuleilles, les verra chauffer les pieds, on les verra faire bonne chair, on les verra chauffer les pieds. On s'en pue même les petits bons, mais plus ma lampe. On s'en pue même les petits bons, mais plus ma lampe. J'ai attendu le coucou chanter, c'est la colombe. Rose et Guinée, des peines beaux quand je ambassadeur des amoureux. Rose et Guinée, des peines beaux quand je ambassadeur des amoureux.
Just want to quickly let you all know that Rob just reminded me of this, that we do have some CDs available at the back at the end of the show if you want to take a look at those, and we appreciate it. Well, back to the show. We want to do a tune here for you that's on the other side of the season of Carnival. You kick it off with the Guillone. Usually 6 days after the Guillone, they have what they call the 12th night ball, which is essentially 12 days after Christmas, and they still have these in southern Illinois, and southwestern Illinois as well, and southeast Missouri. And then, of course, you go on through until you get to Mardi Gras itself, or the Mardi Gras. And when you get there, people usually do the same type of thing over again, and the tradition was going house to house, begging for food, putting on masks, painting yourself up. Well, we also have a Mardi Gras song from our part of the country. Other places around the world, in the French-speaking world, have Mardi Gras songs, and our place is no different. This is a song that I learned from a gentleman around the old mines area many years ago, a gentleman by the name of Joe Thibault was his name. And this was a song that they used to do when they would come around his house and they'd sing this little, kind of like a nursery rhyme almost, something called Le Beau Mardi Gras, which is essentially that Mardi Gras just isn't Mardi Gras until the pretty girls come around.
Le beau Mardi Gras, le beau Mardi Gras. Ain't party in what puppy ain't keep a la ben coup. Le petit pira ici, le beau Mardi Gras. And parties in what puppy and keep me calabenku. The chippy on MC, le bon Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras. I'll just let you on a little secret about that tune. Actually, when I recorded, I used to go around a lot of people in the area, in the old mines area, many years ago in southeast Missouri, and did recordings of them. And actually, when I was with Mr. Thibault and recorded that song, one of the things I remember asking him about it was, that song's kind of familiar to me. And he goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, there's another tune that I hear in there." And of course, it was a song that most kids learn in school. And I said, "Yeah," I said, "it sounds like a song called Skip to My Lou." You ever hear that? Did you hear that in that song? You go, skip, skip, skip to my Lou, skip, skip, skip to my Lou, skip, skip, skip to my Lou, skip to the Mardi Gras. So there you go. Well, it's not quite Skip to the Mardi Gras. But anyway, I asked him, I said, "It sounds like Skip to my Lou," and he says, "Never heard of it before." He didn't go to school. So how would you couldn't learn it if you didn't go to school. That's right. Well, we're going to do another tune. This is an old song. I should quit saying that, Rob.
That's all right.
I know, yeah, okay. They're all old. Well, maybe not all of them. But this is a song that actually, a lot of the ballads that we do, I have to be very honest with you, a lot of them, if you speak French and you understand French, you're going to know that a lot of the ballads that are from the Illinois country are very dark and heart-wrenching in a lot of ways. They usually end up with somebody dying before the end of a song in a lot of these ballads. And this is one that I got from a lady named Annie Paget, or Annie Paget, in the Old Mines area. She was probably the greatest singer in the area. And, well, anyway, this is a tune that if you've ever heard anything about Lizzie Borden, you would probably know or kind of familiarize yourself with the story of this tune. We'll do it for you. Something called La Belle Blondie. C'est la belle blondine, Marilona. C'est la belle blondine qui fait une chanson.
Quand la chanson commence, Marilona. Quand la chanson commence, son père a tué. Son père l'a tué, son père l'a tué, a pris pied à la porte, Marilona, a pris pied à la porte, dans la carvantée. Oser marire, oro qu'il arrive, oro qu'il arrive, oro qu'il arrive. Oh, dites-moi, Blondina, Marilona. Oh, dites-moi, Blondina, où est-ce qu'il est votre père? Dites-moi, Blondina, Marilona. Dites-moi, Blondina, ton père était la guerre.
Oh, thank you. Such nice dancing on that. Thank you very much. Well, there's a lot of fiddle tunes in our part of the country, and a lot of old French fiddle tunes. In fact, the fiddle was one of the first instruments that's known to be actually brought into the Illinois country, you know, besides the voice, because the voice is also very much an instrument. And this is a song we're going to do for you that was made by Charlie Paggi, who was also a cousin to Annie Paggi. And Charlie was a great fiddle player, and he was an interesting guy in the fact that when I'd hang around him, you might get him to play a French tune, and then he might just turn right around and play a Western swing tune or a country tune or something like that. He had a tendency to want to do that, and so when I was around him, you had to kind of prod him a lot to get him to play, specifically the French tunes. And this is a tune that I know that he said it was a very old song that actually he thought that he was pretty sure that the gentleman who made the song was actually named La Chance or La Chance. And so he said it was the only song that the guy could play on the fiddle. And I have a hard time believing that, but because it's such a cool tune. But he just ended up calling the song Old Man Lucky or Vieux Homme La Chance. So we'll do it for you now. Old time fiddle tune, old reel. And actually one of the things that Charlie would do when he would kick off a song, he would want the band to know where the tempo was, so he would kind of give them a little kick before he would start things off, just like this. All right, thank you all very much. Well, one of the things that oftentimes happens in the world of French music is there's really kind of two major groups in the world in French North America. I guess actually there's three major groups if you really kind of look at it. You have French Canadians, which are broken down into the Quebecois and the French Acadians, and then you have in the state of Louisiana, you've got Cajuns and Creoles in Louisiana. And the French in our part of the country kind of get squeezed in the middle a lot, and a lot of people don't even know who our French are and where they belong, and and what the music's all about, or even the culture. And one of the interesting things about it is because we're geographically in the middle between Louisiana and Canada, we oftentimes get flow from Canada and have had musical and cultural and linguistical flow from Canada and Quebec, as well as up the Mississippi River from Louisiana. One of the things that I hear a lot from Cajuns in Louisiana are that, man, you play your songs fast. But then I hear Quebecois say, wow, you play the songs that are similar to us, but you play them kind of slow. So, you kind of get that from both sides. But this is a song that I'm going to have to get my wife to see if she would be interested in coming up here and singing on this one. This is a song we're going to do for you, get Rob and Jennifer both to do, is a song that actually was brought in by another group that nobody hardly ever talks about in the framework of Louisiana and the Louisiana Purchase, and that's the Spanish. This was a song that was brought in by the Spanish in the late 1780s, 1790s, and that made its way up the Mississippi River by the Spanish, but where they actually controlled all of it, old Louisiana from New Orleans and from St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis was the capital of Upper Louisiana, and they brought in folk songs, they brought instruments, and one of the things that they even brought in was actually the guitar. The very first known guitars were brought in by the Spanish in the 1790s. That's right. Thank you, Spanish. In fact, it was that guitar that they brought in. And but years ago, when I was learning to play French music at house parties and bouillons and old mines, this is one of the songs that I learned to play that we're going to do for you, and called J'ai passé devant ta porte, which means I passed in front of your door and you were dead. That's the name of it. See, I told you we got a lot of songs about death and dying.
Love song.
But I ended up going to Louisiana after that. When I got down there, I ended up in a jam session in Cajun country, and we were playing all these songs, and of course I was having a lot of time, struggling playing fiddle anyway, and because I had just started just a few years before that. But there was one song that I knew as they played this song, J'ai passé, and of course they asked me, they say, well, how do you know the song J'ai passé? Did you learn it on a record? And I said, no, I learned it at a bouillon party in Missouri. They're like, from who? I said, from French Creoles. And they're like, you're kidding. I'm like, no, really? Missouri, French. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, well, what do they look like? I said, I don't know, me.
Green with really big eyes.
Yeah, that's right, green. Yeah. So anyway, they were quite confused. I was confused, and we've been having fun for years, confusing Cajuns in Louisiana about just who we are. We also have fun doing that to the Québécois as well. So, But we're going to do the song for you, something called J'ai passé devant ta porte.
Passé devant ta porte, j'ai crié bye bye la paix. Après son qui m'a répondu, oh yeah, yeah, mon cœur fait mal.
All right, thank you for Rob and Jennifer both. Actually, I have to mention, Jennifer comes up here and she knows this music quite a bit, very, very well. She hasn't been touring as much with us. In fact, she doesn't hardly tour much at all these days because she's kind of retired. But I was able to talk her into coming here to play at the Kennedy Center in the Library of Congress today.
Yeah, I think it was part of the pension plan. I had to do this.
That's right. It was part of the pension plan. But years ago, when I took her she and I met and actually started hanging out together. Many, many years ago now, I took her to some of the bouillon parties over in Missouri. In fact, she learned to play guitar hanging out at some of those parties and some of this music. And actually, one of the guys that she got influenced by was a guy by the name of Gros Vent. Now, if those in French know, that means big wind. That was the guy's nickname, was Gros Vent.
And it's kind of funny because it was like a folk porch thing, and you have Gros Vent or big wind or a mighty wind. Just had to go there.
Yeah, but I know. She's making a reference there. But anyway, it's kind of funny because she also hang around playing some triangle too. And actually in Upper Louisiana, we call the triangle a bastring. A bastring. Now down like in the state of Louisiana, they call it a tifad, little iron. Just a few of the differences. We'll do a tune here for you that, this is a song that I learned from a lady by the name of Ida Portel. She was a great singer and a really cool lady. I hung out with her some in Potosi, Missouri, and she knew a lot of old tunes. In fact, the song we did in the very beginning of the show called Grand-Mère Saplant was one that I had learned from her, Grandmother Complains. And, well, this is a tune that she taught me, something called Duvienne to Battershad, which means, "Oh shepherd, where you come from." This is actually kind of a Christmas song, and a lot of the ladies in the area that I recorded doing this would often do it slow, but I mentioned Charlie Paggi, the fiddle player, and of course you had Roy Booyer, who was a great fiddle player in the area too, that I learned a lot from. He was probably my biggest influence in the area, and they would take a song like Duvienne too, and they would soup it up for a dance. And so, but of course, if the ladies who sang the song as a church song ever heard them do it as a dance tune, they kind of looked down at them a little bit. So, but she's not here today, so we're going to soup it up a little bit for you and do something for you called Duvienne to Battershad, dance style.
Promener, baby, you didn't need like si chouette arrivé. Est-il bon, Baget? Est-il bon? Est-il bon, Baget? Est-il bon? Plus beau que le lune et que le soleil. Qu'on met dans le monde, je veux s'emballer. C'est tout, Baget, ça c'est tout. Puis vous comme six anges qui sont des ciels, chantons les louanges de Père éternel.
Thank you. Thanks for clapping along, by the way. If you're so moved, please clap along. It's great. And thanks for clapping in time. You don't know how disconcerting it is to sit in front of some people who are like not clapping on the beat, like, or maybe half of them are clapping on the beat.
You might be tempting them into something devious.
No, don't get any ideas now.
You're challenging them.
Let's see what happens if we clap like this.
We're going to do another old song.
Really?
Wait, it's another one. This one was, I think this is another one that was in the top 20 in about 1770, something like that.
You remember this one, don't you?
But you know what's funny about a lot of these tunes is that, you know, a lot of people on the outside, I say the outside world, in other words, outside of the French communities, look at these songs as just really old songs, but these are not just really old songs. These are very contemporary in a lot of ways. A lot of people have still played these songs for years and for generations, and so nobody has ever looked at them as just an old song. It's just a part of the fabric of the culture of the French Creoles in the Midwest in the Illinois country. And this is a song that originally came from Brittany in northwestern France, but it's a song that has many variations in Quebec and in Louisiana. And there again, it's kind of one of those tunes that it almost magically fits right in between some of the different versions in Quebec and in Louisiana. And a lot of that has to do, again, with some of the travel up and down the river and some of the French that come in our area down from Quebec, some up from Louisiana. And it's a song called Je fais une maîtresse, which means I found a maiden. And it's a story about this guy who falls in love with a girl. And, well, the girl says, if you come after me, I'm going to change into a bird and fly away. And he's like, well, then I'll change into one and fly after you. And she's like, well, if you do that, then I'll turn into a fish or a doe, and it keeps on changing. It's a changeling song. And
No. It's not a changeling song.
No? What is it?
It's a stalker song.
Oh, it's a stalker song. That's right. I forgot about that. That's right. Yeah, this is the 1700s version of a stalker song. So, well, anyway, eventually he turns into a fish is what's interesting at some point in the song, but before the end of the song, the guy dies. So there again, sorry, it's another
love song.
Yeah, another love song from the French area. Because I hope you all enjoy it. Je fais une maîtresse.
Je fais une maîtresse il y a pas longtemps. Je fais une maîtresse il y a pas longtemps. J'ai dû voir le dimanche congelé. Et là, le demande ma bien-aimée. Si tu viens de dimanche, je n'hésiterai pas. Si tu viens de dimanche, je n'hésiterai pas. Je me mettrai un chasseur pour te chasser. Chasser le cœur de ma bien-aimée. C'est une maître chasseur pour me chasser. C'est une maître chasseur on me chassait, chasserait une biche dans un bouchon. To moi, tu n'aurais pas de contentement.
Thank you very much. We got time to do just a couple more tunes, and then we're going to have to get out of here. But again, we really appreciate you all coming. We're going to do quickly a song here for you, something called Voyage au Sanchez-Gutierrez, which is a tune. What brought the French into our part of the country was actually lead mining. And well, if you've ever been to southeast Missouri, you know that there's a lot of hills. It's actually on the edge of the Ozarks. And to get from the inland area to places like St. Genevieve, Missouri, and even Cape Girardeau, you had to take your lead after it was dug on the back of a mule, of a pack mule, and you had to take it down and up and down the hills to get down to the flats on the Mississippi to put it on flatboats to take it to New Orleans. Well, this song is something I learned from Roy Bouyer, and just called the song Voyage au Saint-Geneviève, a trip to St. Genevieve. There's no lyrics to it. It's basically just kind of, if you kind of close your eyes, you can think about yourself being on the back of a pack mule. Or as we've been told, a Missouri 4x4, essentially. And so you'll feel some of the hills and some of the flats getting the mule.
Thank you all.
You never thought you'd love a donkey song so much.
Well, we got the mule to St. Genevieve. Well, again, thank you all for coming out today. This is such a beautiful hall to play in. Again, it's just an honor to be out here. It's been a very magical day for us, and it's really even hard to even put in words, but thank you again. Awesome. Yeah, that's just another thing to say. Just really awesome. I want to quickly introduce the band before we get off here. Over here playing guitar all the way, now from Urbana, Illinois, originally from around Cahokia, Illinois, Mr. Rob Crum, everybody. Back here on bass from Nashville, Illinois, Ramblin' Jim Wilgus, everybody. Over here playing the T5, or the bass string, as you would call it from my area, Miss Jennifer Stromat, everybody. Well, we're going to take it home. We got one more song to do. This is a tune that I got part of from Mr. Roy Bouyer. Some of the music added some lyrics to it and wrote it down to a kind of a quote-unquote new song, something newer than 1840, you know. So, I'm just kidding. This is a song called "The Bouillon Stomp." Kind of a little bit of an illustration of what it's like to be at a bouillon party.
Not so fast here. How about a hand for Dennis Stromat, everybody? Oh yeah! All right. And one more mention: there are some CDs in the back of the hall if you're interested. So.
Back by the sign that says artist merchandise.
All right, here we go.
Più della maccione di Dio che lì si ne blanche ne tiendra paix. Plus de le monde, c'est la main d'un peine et dans ses sans parler. On a c'est comme tous les soirs. Il s'est fait, c'est tous les pas. Bouillon, plus de la majorité, c'est le bon de la mer, plus de l'homme, de la main d'un père, et non, c'est sans parler. Alors, c'est tous les soirs, you sais bien, c'est tu m'es pas. Ladies and gentlemen, merci encore pour visiter avec nous autres ce soir. Peut-être on peut voir la prochaine fois. Merci, good night. Bonsoir.